Good morning. Well, glory to God. Once again, another beautiful day, another fun time to draw. Today I'm just going to jump right in here and start drawing something. I'm not sure what I'm going to draw yet. Um, I like to, just as I've said many times, when I'm drawing, I like to try things, and I don't always know what I'm going to do when I do it. Sometimes I do a false start like I just did. um, but I like to just see where something is going to go because I don't know when I start drawing where I'm going to go. A lot of times I draw girls. I mean, you're going to see me draw girls quite a bit because that's one of my favorite things. One thing I will say about creating and drawing as an artist, and I tell students this: draw things that you like. Because when you draw things that you like a lot, you can learn everything else you need to know sometimes from the things that you like to draw. Because I think that what it is this it's the enthusiasm that you put into what you're doing, and it's that enthusiasm that translates into knowledge. Um, now, and you see this a lot. I mean, a lot of guys draw girls. I mean, it's nothing new, obviously. Women are a muse to a lot of us, to all of us, most of us. Anyways, and it's not abnormal. I mean, how often do you go into a bookstore, an art store, and see books and books and books of drawings of girls? You see it all the time, and most of the time, the ones that are doing that are guys. Now, I'll tell you why I decided to let drawing girls help me as an artist. Uh, Number one, it's because of the reason that I just said, is because I like girls. That's normal. But it occurred to me that some of the hard things about drawing people, if I drew girls and enjoyed drawing girls, and I wanted to find out all the little ins and outs of the anatomy of a woman, then it occurred to me, it's like, well, if I do that, I'm going to learn anatomy. I'm going to learn the body. I'm going to learn how the body works. I'm going to learn how the body, the structure of it. I'm going to learn all of the things that I didn't know. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, I still don't remember every muscle in the body or every bone. I remember quite a few of them. But what I do know is I know what they look like. I know how they're supposed to look. I know where they're supposed to go. I know the concert between um, the muscles and the bones, and I understand the rhythm of the body because that's what I discovered as a result of drawing it all the time. Uh, in drawing women, I ended up, just learning it by osmosis, I guess, really, because the more I drew girls, the better I got at it because I was obviously interested in making it look correct, or as correct as I felt should be. And so as a result of that, I ended up just automatically, without even really trying, I just automatically ended up drawing things the correct way. And that was fun. And so I thought, well, you know what? If it works for me, it's going to work for somebody else. So that's why I tell people draw the things you like, whatever that might be. There's some people who, for instance, are really good at drawing monsters and creatures and stuff. And that's because that's what they like. And so they're going to try it when they draw the monsters and the creatures or whatever they're trying to draw. They're going to probably get it really good because that's an interest. And that interest then will translate into knowledge, which then translates into accuracy, and so on and so forth. See what I'm getting at? Also, too, another beautiful thing about drawing things that you like is that it does sort of pull you into the world of everything else. Because you start to realize that, well, I don't want to just be good at drawing one thing. I want to be good at drawing a lot of things. So, I start out drawing girls, but then I started, drawing guys. I started drawing kids. I started old people. and I started realizing, wow, this is kind of fun, And so, yeah, I mean, I think all of these things all go together. And also, too, drawing from life. That's another thing. Drawing from life. Um, when you draw from life, that's the best. And it isn't easy to draw from life because the subject matter is moving all the time. If you go out in public, in most cases, if you're going to draw a person, in public, they're not necessarily going to stand still for you to draw them. More than likely, they're not. So, you're going to have to, um, because obviously you can't just ask somebody to be still. And also too, there's a privacy factor there too. Someone may not want to be drawn, so you might, I've been in situations where I've tried to be careful about that because I don't want to offend anyone. And I'm not talking about that from the standpoint of today where things have kind of gotten out of hand about offending people. I think, it's gotten a little crazy. But point being is that, obviously you don't want to look like you're stalking somebody or something like that. Most people really kind of appreciate it when they see you sketch. And even if you do a drawing of them, in most cases, people are pretty cool about it. They're not going to get mad at you for drawing them. They'll probably say, hey, that's cool, or could I see that, or whatever. One of the things that I learned to do, and I still do it to this day, is I'll give the person a picture, especially if it's something in a sketchbook or drawing that I've done. I'll put it, I might give it to them because, maybe they want it, maybe they like it, If it's something, I mean, sometimes I can't always do that. Sometimes my books are designed in such a way that I can't really get the drawings out of the book. So in a case like that, I don't always give it to them, but sometimes I'll give it to them. You since I do so much drawing now digitally on my iPad and stuff, obviously I'm not going to give somebody my iPad, but sometimes I've had situations where if the person wanted the drawing, I would say, well, you can email it to yourself. And I always say it that way because I don't, it's kind of also another area of privacy. It's like, well, you email it to yourself. Now I have your email. Maybe you don't want to give me your email. So I don't know. There's all, but it is easier to do it that way because then they can get a file that's got the really nice drawing in it. Especially if you've done like I do stuff on my iPad in Procreate, and it's great. So I could do a color drawing if I wanted to, and that would be kind of fun. So anyway, there's lots of advantages to that. But drawing from life, the main reason for bringing it is the drawing from life is great because there's just a lot of opportunity there for you to capture things that happen in real life that you don't necessarily see when you're just looking at a photo or another person's artwork. I think that you don't want to be in a vacuum as an artist. You want to be experiencing life completely, And so, sometimes the best way to do that is to go out in life. And also, too, the kinds of people that you can draw when you're out in life are just so much more interesting than something that you would just invent in your own head. The inventions that you come up with on your own are limited a great deal to what you can, what might be kind of, a really creative thing that you could do that's in your head. You might struggle with that. Whereas you could be out. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen people out in life that are really interesting faces, interesting poses and pitch and images or attitudes they do. I've drawn people who didn't even know that I was drawing them, and I would get some of the best drawings because these people were, they were just interesting. They were interesting looking people, and they had, and also because they didn't know they were being drawn, they were just being completely natural. And that's the best way to catch people, is when they're just being completely natural. I don't know how many times I've had it where I start to draw the person and they notice that I'm drawing them and they start posing, Sometimes that's kind of fun too. Sometimes because then they will do something probably very uncharacteristic of themselves. But it is kind of neat because they're now adding something to the drawing that might not have been there if they hadn't noticed that they were being drawn. So, humans have there's such variety and flexibility in a face. I get so much out of looking at faces and expressions. People they don't even realize the expressions that they create. And it's just fascinating to me, and it always has been fascinating to me. Um, just the what you can do with a face, or what you can do with an expression. So much you can do. I love it, and it's just forever new to me. So anyway, but I like drawing from life. Like I said, because I get ideas that I wouldn't just normally have on my own, and then later on, I find that I can implement those things in something that I actually doing, and I find that to be very helpful. Um, yeah. Um, Drawing also now from, say, other artists' work is another cool thing to do. Drawing from other artists is great, because then you can start to kind of pick up things that they do, things that an artist will do. I found some commonalities in some of the things that I know I do when I draw, and some of the things that I've seen other artists do. And I like that, because I like what I can discover as a result of just, observing and working and drawing using someone else's, the look that someone else might have that they've mastered in their drawing. So, I'll mimic that a little bit. The thing I think I get the most from other artists is the way they solve problems, as I would put it. And by solving problems, what I mean is, how does an artist handle difficult issues in a drawing? I used to always have when I first started to draw humans, I used to have a lot of trouble drawing hands, because the hands, I don't know, for whatever reason, hands and feet were always hard to draw for me. And so a lot of times when I would do a drawing, I would hide, even when I would do life drawing, sometimes I would hide the hands and feet behind. I'd put the hands, the person behind them, or, in the pockets, or I'd cut the picture off, where the feet were going to start, so that I wouldn't have to draw the feet. And, and of course, my art teacher, get on my case about that. It's like, oh, you're avoiding the feet. Why don't you draw the feet? And I'd say, well, I'm having a hard time with the feet. And, I had good teachers too. I mean, thank God for good art teachers who actually teach you something. And I learned that one of the things that I could do that would help me would be to find ways of breaking the feet and the hands down into something that I could handle. I remember one teacher taught me about drawing the palm of the hand, and that if I drew the palm of the hand, um, it was like a square or something, I think it was, and that if I did that and I extended the fingers off from that I could get the hand more accurate. And yeah, that was very helpful to me. That was really, I don't remember which teacher told me that, but I remember now looking at it, and the reason that I remember it is because it helped me. So you notice that I was able to relay that story. That's a good teacher. See, when you can tell somebody else what the teacher told you, that's a good teacher. That teacher has taught you something valuable, and because you held on to it. See, I mean, I'm almost 70 now, and I remember that. That was something that I learned when I was probably in my 20s. So yeah, and so I learned some things that kind of helped me to get a handle on things like how to draw hands, how to draw feet, that kind of thing. And boy, that was so good, and it stayed with me. So you need to develop, disciplines for drawing, and that, like I said, this is the reason why you draw so much. That's why I draw so much. Like I said, I've been drawing in sketchbooks and stuff for years. And like I said, I'll be 70 this year, and I'm still drawing. I'm still making sketchbooks. I still do a lot of little sketchbooks. I'm going to, at some point, share some of the sketchbooks. I think I mentioned in one of my videos earlier that when I first moved to Los Angeles, a friend of mine who actually got me into drawing, into teaching actually, he has a YouTube channel himself. I think he has a YouTube channel. Sheldon Borenstein, fine artist himself, and a good friend. And anyway, I told him that I had, at that time when I first moved here, I had, to my knowledge, and I could have probably been maybe exaggerating a bit on this, that I had 1,400 sketchbooks that I had been doing since the time I started in art school. And of course, he was very impressed by that. He always noticed that I was drawing all the time, and he asked me about it, and I told him that story about the sketchbooks and everything. And anyways, so he sort of knows that I'm that guy that talks a lot about doing a lot of sketchbooks or having sketchbooks, or how important it is to have a sketchbook, or how important it is to keep a sketchbook. And because he's seen me over the years, still doing this, I see Sheldon occasionally. We get together for coffee, and I'm still got sketchbooks, and he does the same thing. I don't know whether he does it because I do it. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to think that I influenced him to do something that obviously helps him. But he's a great artist in his own right. So it's not like he necessarily needed me to tell him that. But he trained under Vilpu. Glenn Vilpu was just an incredible artist. Glenn Vilpu, and Vilpu inspires me. But Glenn Vilpu, I believe he was a protege, or I guess he trained. I may be getting this wrong. So Sheldon, wherever you are, maybe you can correct me on this, but I believe that Glenn Vilpu was a protege or trained under Bridgman. The great artist Bridgman. And so anyway, which makes sense, because if you look at Glenn Vilpu's drawings, you can definitely see the connection between that and how Bridgman works. So it's not impossible that might be true. I have a feeling it may be. I don't know, actually. But anyway, so the influences that you have as an artist, are very, very important, and can really, get you off to a good start, and get you in a great place artistically. Which is great, because you wanna be strong in what you're doing. You want to be solid. I would think you want to be solid. So let's see here. That's kind of interesting. All right, let's see. So let's see what's next. Yeah, doing if you're doing something, say from life, um, They're like I do this. You go to, let's say you go to the mall, okay, and you draw people in the mall, and you can get, once again, you can get some really good expressions from people. And like I'll go to a place like, say, Starbucks, like a place just where people congregate, or I'll go in the food court, in the mall. I always will go somewhere where I know people are going to settle, kind of rest or something. So I go in a place like that because then, it's a little, people are going to be a little more likely to sit down and relax themselves. And you might, and then I'll wait and see, if people, maybe couple of people will talk, you know, and then I'll sketch them because, then I can capture little expressions that they may do or attitudes that they may do, and that's great stuff. And then I can put that in my characters, you see, because then the characters can be a reflection of the people that I've seen. They can be a reflection of, um, say, an idea. Maybe I've got an idea for a story or something. And so I'll do a drawing. And and also too, another thing that I like about drawing from life is I can use the people as a guide for the design of the character. Um, because what I've noticed is that when you're trying to create some uniqueness on a character, you want the character to sort of stand out, be different from other characters. That's really when you've got to kind of go to nature to see the variations that exist out there in the world. Like what can you do to make your characters stand out, and be different from other characters. Otherwise, you are just kind of imitating them, aren't you? I mean, you're just, and it's easy also too. Another thing, it's very easy when you're doing your own stuff to get in a rut of doing the same kind of thing over and over. Maybe that's not a big deal. I mean, I guess on the one hand, I'd say it really isn't a big deal because you are looking to create a style as an artist. You're looking to create something that sets you apart from other people, the thing that you like to do, whatever. That's fine because people are gravitated to you because of what you do. If I look at, say, someone like Frank Frazetta, for instance, who was a tremendous artist. Well, Frank Frazetta did a lot of, sci-fi kind of stuff, with the big muscle guys and the beautiful princesses, being rescued by the big muscle guys, and that was what he did. It wasn't like that was all he could do, and he would do, saber-toothed tigers and dragons, and the fantasy stuff. But it's not like that's all he could do, you know. But that's what he got known for doing, right? And so his style became the things that he enjoyed, and people bought that because that was what he did, you know. And it's the same thing with you or me or anyone else. It's like you're doing the stuff that you like to do, and you're putting your heart into that. Because, you see, think about it. In the world, there's a lot of people in the world, but I believe that there's a niche interest that every single person on this planet has a contribution to, and I think it always will be like that. I think there's always going to be people who will like what you do. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be lots and lots and lots of people that like what you do. But I think what it does mean is it means that there's probably a lot more people that like what you do than you think. And that's kind of cool because that kind of shows that it shows you how big the world is. That, it's possible that that's the case. Probably more than likely not possible, more likely quite probable that that's the case. So good. That's good because what's wrong with that, right? Um, because there's going to be folks that are going to like what you do. So good, and then just do what it is you're good at, because it's going to take your entire life to become proficient at what it is you do. So you may as well enjoy it because you know, and then for you to be known for what you do, or that what you do is special and significant or whatever. I don't know. I got to think that's a great thing by itself, that people would like your work because of how you do your work. I don't know. I got to think that's really got to be a pretty freaking cool thing, because it then does really set you apart from everybody else. And I don't know what's wrong with that. I got to think that's a good thing. You want to stand out, but you stand out anyway. So that's the thing. God made each one of us in a very unique way. The good things. God made the good stuff. The bad stuff in your life. If you were born with a deformity, that wasn't from God. That's a part of the curse. But still, even so, even in the midst of something that's not good, there's still goodness. There's still goodness that can come out of you. There's still goodness that you can bring to the world. There's still goodness that you can experience. There's still goodness that you can share. There's still something that you can contribute. And as an artist, you have the opportunity to contribute something very profound. And that works in almost every arena. I mean, you look at folks who are great musicians, for instance. I mean, look at what they contribute. Music is beautiful. I mean, I love music. How the people that do music do what they do is fascinating to me. That is what a blessing that is, that someone can create music and have it be so just engaging and I know I love it. I love beautiful music. I get up in the morning sometimes, and I particularly like classical music, but one of my favorite types of music is classical music. But I also like jazz music. But a lot of times I let the music be an inspiration to me for maybe doing some artwork or something, or doing some images. So I kind of like that, because then it sort of bolsters what I do. But that's something that I don't. Making music is something that I've never really understood. I played around with it a little bit at one point in my life, but I don't understand. The folks who are good at that blow my mind every time I think about what they do. I think, wow, I was kind of wish I could do that. And when I get up, I listen to Yo-Yo Ma playing that cello, and it's just like, man, that's poetry, and you can see images in your mind when you're listening to that music. It's just absolutely gorgeous stuff. So, okay, well, anyways, so you've seen a few pictures here. So you just and the way I was doing this and just drawing and having fun. I'm doing this because I want you to see what I do and how I'm doing. Well, you're not seeing exactly. I'm not explaining when I draw how I'm doing it all the time. Sometimes I might talk to you, as I did, I think, a few times back. I talked about what I was doing while I was doing. But I wanted you to see me doing it while I'm talking, because I wanted you to see this is how it comes out with me. I just let it flow out. And there's a lot of artists that do the same thing. So, anyways, you all have a beautiful day. Once again, enjoy your life, enjoy what you're doing. Use this day as an opportunity to grow, develop yourself as an artist, share with people, bring happiness in the sphere of your existence. The world is a big place, but the area in which you live is a very small microcosm of this huge place that God's blessed us with. And share and pay forward the goodness. God has been good to you. You're breathing and you're alive. Bring happiness to those around you, and glorify God who cares about you. All right, folks. All right. So you all once again have a good day. I will see you on the next iteration. And remember, Jesus is Lord.